Hello again. Welcome back to another episode of Photoshop Tutorials, Moorhead Media. And today we're going to be looking at the pencil tool, the mixer brush, and I believe that's it. So let's get started. So what we have here is we have our illustration, we have our Mayan sun god, we have all these colors, and we've been working on this since the beginning of the course. Now what we want to do is just learn a little bit more and go a bit deeper about some of these tools. So before we were using the brush tool to paint in some of these colored areas, and that was working pretty good. What I want to do now is I'm going to show you some of the variations of these tools. So we also have the pencil tool. And what is the pencil tool about? Well, the pencil tool is basically the version of the brush that doesn't has no opaque edges, meaning it's just a aliased edges where they're just jagged pixels, and I'll show you what that means in a second. And this could be useful sometimes when you're just trying to take notes. Actually, even in this case, when we're just trying to fill in a color and we're not worried about how it's going to look in terms of like, this is the background, this is the base color that we're going to paint on top of. So you can see when I'm drawing with the pencil tool, it's really crude. There's no sort of edges there's no feathered edges. It's just like jagged and pixely, but it's really getting the job done. I mean, it's covering a lot of ground. It's it's filling the areas pretty nicely. I'm just going to undo that. I got a little out of hand there, literally. And I'm actually going to go over some of these areas that are more opaque, more or less opaque, because I really just want this to be the background color. I don't want to worry too much about painting over it and it looking like some of the background is showing. And that's a nice effect, but for this, this is a flat, and this is the base color that is going to be holding it down so that I can paint highlights, shadows, whatever else on top of it. So that's a sort of a digital art and animation technique, and they call it the flats. When you lay down that color. Also comics, you have the flat layer, the flats. So you can see I'm getting a little messy with it, but I'm using the pencil tool, just filling in some of these areas. It's working pretty good. So the next tool I want to show you guys is the mixer brush tool. And this one's a little bit more challenging, and it's definitely going to get into some sort of more paint theory, but this is introduced fairly recently in Photoshop, I believe. And essentially what it does, if I were to click a few more alternate tabs, it's a mixer brush simulating real paint techniques such as blending colors and paint wetness. So Photoshop is actually getting really good at emulating traditional media to the point where you can even mix colors directly on here, and you can get new variations of those colors that you can apply to other parts of your image. That's pretty cool. I mean, certainly it didn't have that ability when it first started. So if I drag using this mixer brush, you can see what it's trying to do. It's trying to blend three different colors here. It's trying to blend the yellow, it's trying to blend this brown, and it's trying to blend the actual outline. And you can see what I'm drawing, it's actually like smearing those around. So you can see, like, if you had, let's just say, for example, I'm going to undo that. But let's just say I had a swatch, which is essentially, if I just create like a little thing here, and I just fill it with that same yellow I'm using, that's called a swatch. And if I go back and use my mixer brush, let's just say I want to get a hybrid between these two colors, the background and the yellow. Well, so now I'm actually mixing the yellow into the background and mixing the background into the yellow. And this works very much like a paintbrush. You can see if I'm like drawing in here and then I draw outside, it actually takes some of this color, some of this pigment, and applies it still, like carries it over to this other part of the image. So it's very advanced. It's actually quite sophisticated technology. But we're not going to do that because right now we're sticking with the very, very simple basics. So let's just get out of that, and let's get rid of this swatch. Undo. Okay, deselect. And we're going to go ahead and come back here and the brush tool, and get back to our normal brush. And voila, we're coming back to finishing these arms. I don't like how that looks. Let's do the pencil tool just for the super basic stuff. Get that filled in. Again, this is a very time-consuming way to do it, but it's a lot of fun. It really does calm you down. It's sort of like those adult coloring book type situations. Stress management here, people. Super important. And yeah, so the next tutorial, we're going to be going over some other techniques. Next tutorial, we're going to talk about the smudge tool. We're going to talk about we're going to use some different techniques to actually create shadow layers and highlight layers, which is super fun, kind of an advanced technique. And then yeah, we're going to get into some digital painting theory. And for those of you who are watching this, make sure to subscribe. This is a Morehead Media production, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for checking it out.